Hello, it's me, Melissa of Elevate Palm Beach, taking your team to next level performance. Thanks for joining me again this week for the resource review. This week I am reviewing a book that, again, is not the normal of leadership books. It's called The Global Achievement Gap by Tony Wagner, and it's why even our best schools don't teach the new survival skills our children need and what we can do about it. So again, it's not probably on anybody's leadership top 10 books to read, but I think it brings up a very important topic. Tony Wagner is an educator, and he has spent a lot of time and research into how we teach and what we're teaching. And I think many are aware of the gaps in our education, but he starts to outline that there's a gap not only within the education system itself, but a gap between the education system, colleges, and the workplace. So he starts to bridge or talk about what's missing in education as far as new students entering or graduating and then entering the workforce. And I've been talking about this a lot lately, and that's how the landscape of business is changing and what it looks like and what it's changing into. Millennials are the largest group right now to be in the workforce, and of course I've heard everything from millennials, such as I am a millennial, about some of the things that I'm facing and I've had to deal with in the workplace. All the way to older generations who are using phrases like millennials are lazy, they just don't get it, they don't know what they're doing. And I think on both ends there's a lot to learn from every generation, and it's not so much pointing fingers at other generations and saying, oh, you need to change, but kind of encompassing and realizing that things are changing, and what are we doing to help that change or be with it. So he starts to talk about that in this book. He outlines seven survival skills. So in education, they're talking about 21st century skills, and they're talking about soft skills and how we need to teach younger generations about soft skills, about how to interact with someone on a more one-on-one level, because technology is kind of taking over. We're losing these soft skills, and all I can say to that is, kids are a product of their environment. So yes, we need to teach them those skills, but there's a lot of businesses now who are also realizing that their employees currently don't have soft skills. So now they're doing employment soft skills such as EQ, emotional intelligence training, leadership training, communication, conflict resolution. And for me, that says that it's not just kids who have these problems, but everybody. We all need to be learning these skills, and we need to be learning them together, not just in these pockets of learning. Kids shouldn't just be learning them. Adults shouldn't just be learning them. We shouldn't just be learning them in the school system. We shouldn't just be learning them in companies and businesses. But we really need to, at some point, bridge that gap of learning and learning them together, so we can grow together and start to understand each other and close those gaps where school and education ends and the workplace begins. So his 7 survival skills, number 1 is critical thinking and problem solving. Education, in my opinion, and from what I've read and from what others have said, looks more like information is given to the student. There's not as much critical thinking involved. There's not a lot of time for it. We have this amount of information to convey to these students in this amount of time, and that's all there is. There's a lot of other schools out there who are trying to incorporate the critical thinking and problem solving, but even those already in the workplace, like I'm in my 30s, I'm a millennial, we've been in the workforce for like 15 years now, and there's still gaps in critical thinking, even in those who are and have been in the workforce for some time. The second one is collaboration across networks and leading by influence. If you're a leader or if you've taken any sort of leadership training or course, there's different kinds of leaders, and they're talking specifically about being someone who can lead by just their influence, who has people skills, who has the ability to drive people through their personality, who they are. And then the collaboration across networks is being able to cross-train, basically, being able to connect with people on different levels, in different communities, in different jobs and fields. And then number 3, the third one, is agility and adaptability. Being able to be a chameleon and kind of adapt to your surroundings and whatever comes across to you. Number 4 is initiative and entrepreneurialism. Being able to start up something. I believe he mentions in his book, there's a point where, they're so used to, in the education system, being given information, given directions, and saying, these are what your directions are, this is how you're to complete it, and when they're done, they're waiting for a new set of directions, which doesn't necessarily carry over to the workforce when you're given directions, but you're also expected to take initiative and start up things on your own. So there's kind of that lack there, that disconnect, the gap. Number 5 is effective oral and written communication, which is a big one. It goes across the board, I think, at any age level, and is also magnified by the fact that technology is taking over. We're losing more face-to-face time. People are more than willing to communicate in whatever way they think is best, but are they being effective in doing so? Are they clearly and concisely saying what they need to say, getting their point across so people can understand it? So being effective, not just speaking, but having some kind of purpose and being clear on what they're trying to say. Accessing, and number 6 is accessing and analyzing information. Again, in the age of technology, all of the information is available to us right here at a click of a button on our phones. We carry it around with us. We're not using encyclopedias or dictionaries anymore. We're not going over to our bookshelves. Some are. I know some who are still have a dictionary at home, but everything's kind of there for us, and we're able to access information, but can we analyze it? Can we take information from different places, put it all together, and come up with something new, or to apply it to a new field or service? Number 7 is curiosity and imagination. As we get older, our innovation and creativity levels go down as we age, and being able to tap into that curiosity and imagination is something that they want to teach kids. It's a survival skill, but it's also going to help those in the workplace to stay viable in the changing workforce landscape. So those are his 7 survival skills. He goes into a lot of detail about the school system and examples that he has come across in his studies. He's someone who has gone to many schools to do what he does. He calls them, what does he call them? He goes into schools and he kind of walks through them. He sits in classrooms, he analyzes the teacher's teaching style, and he helps them create standards within their own place of their own school, their own district. So everybody's kind of on the same page of what good teaching is and what that looks like and how I can gain the skills to become a better teacher. And he's written other books, and it's just a really good conversation to have and keep in mind as a business owner, as a leader, as a manager, just what's going on in the school system, how it affects the workforce, and how we can bridge that gap, because the business landscape is changing. I'm going to say it again, And again, I'm actually going to write an article about the change in the business landscape later on this month, so look out for that. It's going to talk a lot more about the millennial influence and how it's not a bad thing, but being able to roll with those and maybe kind of wanting to switch over from what the traditional workplace environment is, the work culture, into more of a dynamic, modern one that fits and motivates the millennial a little bit more to get them fully engaged, to keep them there longer, because they are about, on average, 2 years at any given job, and they are about they're the cause of about $30.5 billion in turnover costs every year. So that's a little bit about what I do, actually. Elevate Palm Beach is I can go in, I can analyze the needs of the organization, what's working, what's not working when it comes to team dynamics, internal processes, work culture, and I help design a process that looks like a series of training, workshops, team building exercises to get everybody in a place where they're working better together, productively, more engaged, they're invested and committed longer, and it all helps with the bottom line and businesses to stay viable longer, especially as it changes. So that is The Global Achievement Gap by Tony Wagner. Not on your usual leadership book, but definitely a subject to pay attention to for your business. And I thank you again. Again, look out for that article coming out later this month. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to contact me at melissa@elevatepb.com. Feel free to check out my website, www.elevatepb.com. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.